connect with the energy. Yes, I'm always talking about energy from time to time. Help them connect with the energy, help them connect with the strength that they need to be able to fulfill God's plan and purpose for their lives. We anchored this bootcamp program on the commandment that God gave to man, where He said, "Be fruitful, multiply, subdue the earth, replenish it, and have dominion." That's the instruction that God gave to man, and that's what we are. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. The network has really been bad for some time. It has really been bad, but trusting God that everything will work well so that we can have a good time together. So, like I was saying, it's been an adventure of helping people fulfill God's purpose for their lives, helping people understand what God has for them, and for us to be able to fulfill the instruction that God gave to man when He said in the beginning, "Be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth, subdue it, and have dominion." We must ensure that we fulfill that purpose of God, we must ensure that we fulfill that assignment that God has for us. And if we are going to be fruitful, we must know the path to fruitfulness. We must know the resources that have been provided for our fruitfulness. We must know what we need to do to ensure that our lives are indeed fruitful. So I want to welcome everyone to today's bootcamp, the first day of the September bootcamp. And like we have been told, like you have seen in the flyer or wherever you are, you've seen the program from, our theme for this month is framed for growth. Framed for growth, changing perspectives, creating possibilities. The whole idea of this is to help people understand that there is a kind of frame that you need to be able to help make your life grow. There's a kind of way you need to begin to see things that will help you grow, that will help you become a better person. Growth is about that improvement, that increment in the experience of your life from time to time. So there is a kind of frame, there's a kind of way that you view life that positions you for growth. And by the grace of God, our guest speaker will be coming tomorrow. I'll be talking about what growth is all about, how you can grow, the things that growth represent. But my own assignment today is very simple. Like I've always said, it's very simple. And our guest speakers over time, they've been very fair enough to allow me handle the simpler part of the work. So this time around, my work again is very simple, like I've always said. And what I have to do with us is to help us understand what frames are and how do we use frames in our life. So we've said changing perspectives, creating possibilities. The possibilities are the things you see changing in your life, the growth that you see. So today we are focusing on changing perspectives. How do you begin to see things the way you are supposed to see them? How do you begin to see things the way that helps your life to grow? How do you begin to see things in ways that will bring about the kind of experience that you need to have for growth? So I'm going to be dwelling so much on frames and perspectives. I'll be doing quite a number of definitions and explanations to give us perspective on what growth means. And I would encourage that, as much as possible, you stay true and you're able to ask questions. You're able to um, question the things I've said and open your mind so that by the time we're coming tomorrow, you have a clearer understanding, you have a clearer perspective on the things that we're going to be talking about. So changing perspectives, creating possibilities. What does that mean? Before we start, I want us to pray. Father, we thank you for your grace. We thank you for the opportunity that we have to be in this boot camp. I want to thank you because of the grace you've given unto me and for everyone on this platform. I pray and ask that you would strengthen us, you open our eyes, you help us to see the things that you really want us to see. You would, take hold of this vessel, use it to speak your word to your children. open their eyes, give them understanding. For those that are here currently and those that will be joining, those that will be watching the replay, whatever, as many people that will be coming in contact with this message, we pray that you open their eyes, give them understanding, you breathe it upon the word in their heart, and there'll be fruitfulness in the name of Jesus. Thank you, Father, because we know you've answered. For in Jesus' mighty name we have prayed. Amen. All right, so as I was saying, I'm going to be dwelling on changing perspective. So as I was preparing, I thought about, let me even just check the definition of perspective. Of course, perspective looks like a very simple word until you begin to now do some deeper studies. And what I found was the capacity. Perspective was defined as the capacity to view things in their true relations or to relative importance. And then, when you are looking for definitions, you are looking for how to understand things. So the way I even understood perspective, it was so simple. I just said, okay, perspective is where you are viewing things from. If you are standing on a particular side and you're looking at things from something from a particular angle, that's what perspective is. Like there's this popular analogy that people will say, if you fill a cup to the middle mark and you ask somebody to see it, somebody might say, oh, the cup is half filled, right? Another person might come and say, oh, the cup is half empty. So that's perspective. And then if you draw a very big figure 6 on a table or somewhere or on a board, and you tell somebody to stand on this side of the table to look at it, the person will say, oh, I can see 6. But the person sitting at the other end of the table will be saying 9, because 6 and 9 are just as if you are flipping the head and the tail. That's the way it looks. So perspective. It looks simple. I mean, the word is just simple. Like I'm just standing at a particular angle, perspective I'll be seeing will be different. When I went to look for the definition, what I saw was the capacity to view things in their true nature. Of course, there were so many other definitions, but this was one that caught my fancy. So the capacity to view things in their true relations or relative importance. And at this point, I became more confused. I was wondering, I thought this was supposed to be a simple thing. Definitions were supposed to even help me understand the concept better and all of that. Why is this one even confusing me? So I had to just sit down and think. Capacity, okay, I know capacity. Okay, view things, yes. But what do they mean by in their true relations? It got me all confused. I thought the definition was supposed to help me, but anyway, it helped me because it made me just go further and further. And if you're also like me, and it does not look very simple to you, the definition looks even more complex than what you already even know about perspective, then I think I've been able to do some work to help you, understand better. So if we go by that definition, we'll have 3 keywords. We'll have, like I said, it's the capacity to view things in their true relations or relative importance. So it means the capacity to view things in their true relations or the capacity to view things in their relative importance. So we have 3 keywords there that will help us understand better. The first one is capacity. The second one is true relations. The third one is relative importance. So capacity is quite simple. And another word that you can use, that I chose to use to replace capacity for better understanding, is skillfulness. That ability, the skillfulness that I have to be able to get something done. So that's what I've used to replace capacity. So then, in terms of true relations, when I went to check better, I went to see if I could find more things that will help me understand better. What I found for true relations is how different things are related. So it's saying the capacity to view things in the way they are related to other things. That's what that means when you're looking at perspective. So perspective is my own ability, my skillfulness to view things in terms of their relationship or how related they are to other things. Another one, the third one, is relative importance. So that talks about scale of importance. How important is this thing compared to other things? So that's the relative importance. So your capacity to view things in their true relations, that's in how they are related to other things in life, or your capacity to view things according to their scale of importance. That's what perspective can be defined as. So I used all of that to redefine the whole world totally. So the whole perspective, I got a new definition for it. And the definition I got for it now from those other definitions I broke down, is perspective can be defined as a skillfulness, your skillfulness. So when you talk about skillfulness, you are saying that you've done something over and over, you are good at it, right? So your skillfulness, the skillfulness that is required to see how different things are related, the skillfulness that is required to see how different things are related, or the scale of importance of things. So your skillfulness to be able to define to be able to see how is this thing related to other things. What does this Where does this thing stand in the whole picture, in the bigger picture of things? That skillfulness that you have to be able to see that thing in the light of all other things around it, or your ability to scale things in order of their importance can also be defined as perspective. So based on those two major definitions, I'll be explaining what it means to change your perspective, what it means, to have a perspective. So we defined perspective. We said it is your own skillfulness, your ability to be able to see one thing that you are saying in relationship with all other things around it, as well as the second part of it is to be able to say in order of importance, the scale of importance, how important is this thing, to life or to all other things. Now, to change your perspective, we need to really understand. Even though we've defined it, we need to understand it as it applies. There are many things that are related, and life is all about connections of several things. Nothing stands in isolation, mostly in life. And for us to be able to make the best use of anything, we must be able to know how does this thing relate to this and how does it relate to that. In fact, unconsciously, so many things are interrelated in our minds and they inform the way we do things. So when we see things in a particular way, we begin to from what we have known before, we need to create some connections between them. And that connection that we make between those things informs the way we interact with those things. So the example I will give, the first one is time and money. This one is very simple. So I'm coming from the simple one, time and money. A lot of people know that there's a relationship between time and money. A lot of people know that, oh, I have to go to work. I have to do a 9 to 5. A lot of people are familiar with a 9 to 5. So a lot of people are familiar with 9 to 5, 8 hours, every day. If I work like that, I'm going to get money. Or if I want somebody to give me money, I must be able to spend some time with them. I must be able to do something for them that will require time. So we already understand that relationship that exists between time and money. And also because a lot of people have heard the saying that time is money. Time is money. It already creates a perspective that time is something that you can easily exchange for money, as though time is equal to money. So even though they might not sit down and write the equation time equals to money, they might not sit down and do that. But because of what they have understood, because of the things they've been exposed to, there's a tendency to begin to think that time is actually money. So it's important to be able to know, okay, how is this thing really related? Because if I really understand how it's related, then I can make the best use of this concept. That's the time and money. Right? You must be able to know what is time, what is money, how are they related. Like I said, what people know most about time and money is that they will say time is money. I should spend time to get money. Meanwhile, if you are going to let's assume that you want to get wealthy in life. Let's assume that you have the desire to get wealthy in life. You must not equate time and money. Time must be greater than money in your perspective. You must see time as being greater than money. You must see that at any point in time, the value that time has is greater than money. And this example, I know I've made it several times, and I'm going to make it again. This example about the fact that if you want to know that time is greater than money, the simple way to understand it is that, okay, if I tell you that I'm going to give you 1 million, okay, I don't want us to use dollars, but let's just say 50 million naira. I know it's a small money anyway, but then let's just assume I'm saying, and maybe you've never touched that amount of money before. Let me just make it general so that other people we know that other people are going to be watching. So let's just say $50 million. That's a lot of money. In naira, it's billions, right? So let's say I'm telling you now that I'm going to give you $50 million. Now, if you take this money from me. You have to agree that you need to end your life. I'm sure very many people, I don't want to say everybody, because there are some very interesting people. I don't want to say something else, but there are some very interesting people that say, oh, what's my life even in the level? Let me just get the money and give it to my children, all of that. Well, but a real person, a reasonable person will say, no, I'm not going to take it. If I'll have to cut my life short, I'll have to end time, I'll have to cease to exist, in the realm of time just because of money. I do not want that kind of money. I do not want that kind of money. So you already know that by every means, no matter how much you call the money, you can say millions or billions, trillions of dollars. It does not matter if there's no time to spend it. So time is much, 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 much important than money. Right? So that's the relationship that exists between time and money. But we have established that there's a relationship between time and money. So you can use time to get money, right? Then you can also use money to get time. But when we get to the second part, I would tell you the one that I would advise that you do. The one I would advise to do, whether it's to use time to get money or to use money to get time, because like I said, the relationship is reciprocal. So I would tell you the one I'm advising to do. But these are the relationships that exist. This is how money and time are related. That's just an example. Another example I'm going to give is the relationship between money and wealth. Like I said, these are the simple ones. So money and wealth are related such that you can have money, a lot of money, and yet not be wealthy, right? And then you can be wealthy, might not have money, but you should have money if you are wealthy. So this is what I mean. Money is supposed to be an offspring of wealth. So wealth is your ability to create value. By definition, by what it really is, wealth is the ability for you to create value for people other than yourself. So if you won't say you are wealthy, it means that you're able to create value for people more than just yourself. So if you just have money and then there's nothing valuable about your life that you can use to bless other people's life apart from the money, then you are not wealthy. But if you're able to create so much value for the people around you, then you are wealthy. Whether value in terms of their spiritual lives, finances, relationship, you're able to help people become better. You're able to provide a solution to other people, than yourself. That is what wealth is all about. Now, you will now say, oh, yes, but I know several persons that can provide solutions to people in this area and that area, but they are not wealthy. Yes, the degree of your wealth is dependent on how many people you're able to reach. So if you look at it, the people that we call wealthy, if you look at those that are very wealthy in terms of even money, so to say, let's even say in terms of money, let's say this person is wealthy in terms of money. There are people that have already created value for other people. They've created businesses that has touched millions and billions of people. Look at the Bill Gates of our time, Elon Musk. Their businesses are creating value for millions and billions of people all over the world. And that's why they are so much wealthy. And we say, this person is very wealthy. That's in terms of money. So in the same vein, whether it's in finance, whether it's in health, whether it's in relationship, as the amount of people, the volume of people that you're able to create value for is what will determine the level of your wealth. So it's very important for you to understand that wealth, as it is your ability to create value for people other than yourself. So the more people, so if I'm creating value for 100 people, it means I'm wealthy, that much. If I'm able to create value for thousands of people, millions of people, I'm wealthy. So the amount of people, the volume of people that you create value for, that you're able to help with the value that you have, is equivalent to the amount of wealth that you have in your life. So normally, when you have value, money always flows in the direction of value. When you have value, in fact, that's why you see that even preachers that are not selling anything, they're not necessarily selling anything, they still get a lot of money coming to them because they are creating value for people. And I was listening to a coach recently, and he was saying something that people just give him gifts. He said, when you are rich, when you are wealthy, when you have value to give, people just give you gifts. Like people just want to give you gifts. People just say, oh, I just thought to give you this. I just felt to give you this. That's what happens to people of value. Even when they're not asking for money. So that's why you see pastors, see preachers, or some other persons, people that are creating social enterprises where they are not necessarily making profit. People are coming to give them gifts. People are donating. People want to be part of it. So money usually will flow in the direction of value. So that's the relationship that exists between wealth and money. So your perspective about wealth, your perspective about money is dependent on how you understand the relationship between wealth and money. So if you're thinking about money, and you do not know that money has a relationship with wealth, and wealth itself is not money. But money can be, you know, a proceed of wealth. Money can be a proceed of when you have so much value to offer. When you're able to understand how these concepts are related, what you'll be thinking, will be, how can I begin to create more value for others? How can I be a person of value? And how can I, package and distribute this value to as many people as possible? That's what we are talking about. So you understand that there's a relationship between, wealth and money. Another thing that we have, just these are just for examples for us to be able to understand, what perspective is, what your view about something, your understanding of your frame, the frame you create around something, how it helps you to be able to understand life and how it makes things appear in your life. So another example I would like to give is love and affection. A lot of people, are familiar with what love is, and I'm intentionally taking it from different perspectives so that you can apply it to different aspects of your life. This concept of frame. So a lot of people know what love is and what affection. They don't know many people do not know the relationship that exists between the two things. It's possible for you to have an affection towards someone, but not to love them. But when you love someone, you definitely have an affection for them. So that's the relationship that exists between love and affection. That is how those concepts are related. But except you understand how these concepts are different and they're related, you'll not be able to get the best. Except your perspective about the relationship between love and affection, love and every other thing. So it's not just love and affection, it could be love and money, it could be love and time, it could be love and so many other things. So you can see things are really related, but you need to really understand these two concepts, how are they related, and what is the right relationship that should exist between them. So the kind of example that I've been given is for us to understand that these are the kind of relationships that exist, and this is what the relationship should look like. But when it comes to the other part, the scale of importance, I'm going to be dwelling more on which one I think you should always see as a proper perspective. So there are different perspectives. So, but on love and relation and affection, there's a perspective that says when you love somebody, you definitely feel an affection towards them. The affection should be could be compassion, it could be different things, but you love them, and then you begin to show your affection in different ways. We can have an affection towards somebody and not really love them, because love in itself is an action, right? Love itself is an action where it's not a feeling. Affection is the feeling, but love is an action. So you can have an affection towards somebody and not take any step, not take any action. It's possible. But when you love somebody, your love will constrain you, your love will compel you to really act. So if somebody says, "Oh, I love that person," and you see the person has a need, and you do not make any move, honestly, you do not love that person, right? You can't see somebody that you love and the person is in danger. You really love the person. You'll be moved against all odds. Even if the person does not want you to do something for them, you just want to go out and help them. That's the difference between love and affection. That's the relationship that exists between love and affection. Affection can be there without love, because love is the action. But whenever there is love, whenever there is that action of investing in somebody, whenever there's that, thing that pushes you to want to help this person, to want to be with this person, then definitely an affection will flow, after that. So that's the relationship that exists between love and affection. Another one that we are quite familiar with, these two words, are knowledge and skill. Of course, to a very large extent, people know knowledge and skill differently. That knowledge is just for you to know something in your head, and then skill is for you to be able to do something. But this is why I'm bringing it, into this perspective. There's a part of skill that is also knowledge. In fact, you can use skill and knowledge interchangeably in some scenarios, in some contexts. Skill and knowledge can be used interchangeably. But except you're able to really know how these things are different from one another, how they relate to each other, you will be mixing them up sometimes. So another word that people use for knowledge is know what. You know something, you know what this thing is, right? But another word that you can use for skill is know how. Although some people, exchange knowledge for know how. Know how and knowledge are not the same thing. Knowledge is simply know what. But when you graduated from know what knowledge to know how knowledge, then you have gone to skill. You can know what this thing is, you can know what a phone is, but until you know how to use it, you do not have the skill of operating a mobile phone or whatever it's the gadget. You can know what public speaking is, you know that, you know the definition, you know what it is. But except you have done it, once, twice, you do not have the skill. You have not tried it. You've not mastered it. You do not have the know-how. You do not know how to. In fact, you've tried it a couple of times. You might just be able to know a little things about it, but you don't know how to do it. You cannot do it right. Then you do not have the skill. But except you really understand things from this perspective, you just interchange know-how and knowledge, you know, and just think that because I have knowledge, I know how. No, they're two different things. When you talk about know-how, people will say, oh, technical know-how and all of those know-how. People use that word to exchange knowledge. No, know-how is definitely your skillfulness. Until you have practiced something, until you have used it, until you have mastered how it works, then there's no know-how. Even though both of them, are related, even though both of them are stages of knowledge, right? Even skill is a stage of knowledge. It is know, yes, a knowledge of how, not just what. The plain knowledge, the first stage of knowledge that we call knowledge is the know what. But the higher stage where you are skillful at that thing is what know how is. So begin to see how understanding of this concept, knowing how this concept relates to that concept, helps you to be able to understand life better, helps you to be able to know things better. So if you say, oh, I have the knowledge of this thing, you are saying knowledge has stages, right? So do I know what or do I know how? You're able to have a proper perspective on knowledge. So this person is very knowledgeable. Yes. Does he know what or know how? You see a lot of persons, lecturers that are lecturing business. They know what, but they don't know how to do the business. They themselves don't have business. So several things like that. That's the same thing with some spiritual leaders. They know what to teach. And that's why Jesus Christ said about the Pharisees and Sadducees at some point. He said, these people, whatever they tell you to do it because they hold the scriptures, they read the word of God, so they know what is there. But don't look at their lifestyle, don't follow them. That's the difference between know what and know how. That's the difference between knowledge and skill. Even though those things are related, you have to understand the relationship and you have to know how to really apply them to life. The last one I would want to talk about how different things, different concepts are related is words and windows. So, like I said, I'm taking us from the pretty simple ones to the abstract ones. So, when you say word and windows, of course, the relationship between word and windows is more like a metaphor, right? So, but we just need to understand the concept of how words are like windows. Once you're able to understand how a word, or how your word or how words are similar to windows, you're able to know how to better use them. So, for instance, very well, most people know how to use Windows. Several persons might say, I don't know how to use words, I struggle with words. But a lot of people know how to use the windows. They know that the window is that part of the building that helps you to see outside. You know that that's the part of the building that when you don't want people to see inside, you have to block, and ensure that you cover the windows very well so that people cannot see inside. So we are familiar with how to use them. So that can also help you understand words when you know that words are like windows, right? So how do we establish the relationship between words and windows? It has been established, through some research that just like the window helps you to see outside. If you're in a house, you cannot see outside without window. Just like the window does. Your words, the kind of words that you have in your vocabulary, help you to have a kind of perspective of the world. So this is what it means. The more the words you have in your vocabulary, the better you're able to define concepts and ideas. Look at just what I said. I said that for myself, I've always known what perspective is. And then when I decided to go and check the meaning of perspective, I saw capacity, I saw related view, I saw, just what I saw. And let me come back to it. Capacity, I saw true relations, and I saw relative importance. All of those words, phrases and words, they gave me a new perspective of what is this perspective. And that's why we're even breaking everything down, because I was able to go to a dictionary, check what this word means. Then I saw other words that are related to it. And I saw that to understand it, you need to understand some other words. So my understanding of what perspective is through those words, through those phrases, helps me to better understand perspective even as a word itself. So the more words you have in your vocabulary, the more words you can use to explain a particular thing, the better understanding of that thing that you have. And that's a fact. It's given. The research has even shown that people that have more words in their vocabulary, people that have more words, that know more words, they are able to view life better. They're able to see things better. It's an experiment that has been done and has been tested. So that's the way words are related to windows. Words are like windows. What help you see the world? They help you have a perspective of things around you. The kind of words that you have are inside of you, the kind of words that you have around you. They help you shape the way things are in the world. They help you see the world exactly the way it is. So it means that if you want to have a better view of the world, then you must know, I mean, the world outside, around us. You must be able to have more words in your vocabulary. You must be able to learn more words. You must be able to learn that language that you speak more. You must be able to understand it better. In fact, as you begin to understand that language better, you begin to have more words in your vocabulary, automatically you're going to change the way you see the world because you're going to understand concepts better. You're going to understand a lot of things better when you can, have more words in your vocabulary. So that's the relationship that exists between words and windows. Words are like windows. Yes, like I said, relationship between them is like a metaphor. Unlike all other things that are, directly related and we can see their relationships, things are related like that. And once you have understanding of their relationship, then you have a proper perspective. And people that understand things poorly, they have a negative perspective about life. And that's why I was saying that some people will think time is money. They'll think that money is greater than time because they do not have the proper understanding of the two concepts and their interrelationship. So the other part of perspective that helps us to now really understand is, we said definition of perspective is the skillfulness that we have in relating things to other things, and then in putting things on their scale of importance. If you're able to put things in a proper scale of importance, then you have a better perspective. The better your ability, the better skillful you are, the more skillful you are at placing things in the real order of priority, in the true order of priority or of importance, that means you have a better perspective about life. So if at some point in your life you thought that money was more valuable than time, so I can sell all of my time for a little bit of money, I can go for 9 to 5 and go for another job, just running up and down to ensure that I can get some money. That's the perspective that you have about the relationship between time and money. That's the perspective that you have about which one is higher between time and money, and then it affects the way you view life. But when you have a change of perspective, when you now begin to understand that really time is much, 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 much valuable than money by so large gap, then you begin to change your perspective. You have a higher perspective. You have a different perspective to life. You've changed your perspective because you really understand the relationship between these two. So I'm going to use this is the second part, the scale of importance. I'm going to use those examples I gave earlier to also now help us understand how to really have the perspective, proper perspective in terms of scaling things in their importance the right way. The first one, I'm going to go to time and money, just like we started the other time. I said it, the example I gave, I'm just going to give it once and forget about it. I did a lot of explanation on that. Time is far, 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 far more valuable than money in terms of importance. And what you should be thinking of doing is, how do I use money to buy back my time? The time that you have, like we've already said, if just to have a clear understanding, if I say I'm going to give you, $50 million, end your life now. I'm saying end your time because time is the unit of life. You will definitely say no, I don't want that kind of money because you believe just by that answer that time is much more valuable than money. But how is it that we act like that? We have opposites to that because sometimes we prefer to just waste a lot of time just to save some money. Some people say I want to save money, then they'll go to a market and they'll be looking for the cheapest things. They are walking up and down. Some people can even leave their homes and go to one very far place instead of just ordering that thing and getting it, and save themselves a lot that time wastage, right? So a lot of times we act contrary to what we should know because we are not putting the right perspective. But I'm telling you now that time is much more valuable than money. And if you want to really act that, not just by word, not just by saying I understand it, if you really want to act that, you want to be looking for ways to ensure that how can I use money to buy back my time? How can I make money and then allow the money that I have made to save me of the time that I waste in other things? I'm not going to be looking for how to save some money and then I'm wasting a lot of my time. I'm not going to sit down in a place to do something that a machine will do for me in 5 minutes and I'm spending 5 hours doing it just because I feel that I don't have the money for that thing or I don't think I want to waste my money on that thing. But I'm so interested in getting the result that that thing will produce to me. And then I will spend 5 hours doing that same thing instead of using money to get that thing done for me. So even though you are saying with your mouth that yes, and even though when it comes to some situations, you would really, really want to choose um, more time over money. Yet you are not really living that life on a daily basis. You are not ensuring that you you are saving a lot of your time, even if it requires that you spend money, because your time is much more valuable than money. So that's the perspective. Then when we come to wealth and money, when you understand that wealth is far, far greater than money, you're going to spend your life building value. Because it has been proven that people that win lotteries, their lives become eventual, most many of them, in very few months from when they win lottery. Maybe somebody wins 10 million naira, $10 million in lottery, in very few months from that time, they get back to that state that they got to. So a lot of people that just are running after money, spending all of their time looking for money, looking for every means to get money, they don't understand that money has wings, it can fly, but the wealth, the value that you have added to your life cannot leave you. So you should be spending your time, you should be spending your life creating value, adding value to yourself. Minute by minute, you should be thinking of how do I add value before you get a job, before you move into that career. You should not be thinking, oh, because there's money in tech, because there's money in finance, I want to win. That should not be your first thing. The first thing should be, how can I create value in this space? How can I create value in this environment? How can entering into this environment add value to my life? Because now you understand that wealth is much more valuable than money. And in fact, wherever there is wealth, you know, in terms of value, right? Money always flows in the direction of where there is value. Whether people will give you the money, by buying something from you, or they just gift you. Money flows. So you can begin to change your life by focusing on how do I create wealth? How do I create wealth? How do I add more value to myself every day, every minute? If I'm going to change my job, is that job going to give me more value than this one is going to give me? You can move from a job, and this is how I will know that you really understand it. You can move from a job that is paying you higher to a job that is paying you lesser, just because you understand that this place, even though it's paying me lower for now, is going to add more value to my life, and it's going to help me add more value to the lives of other people than this one. So it means that you really understand that wealth is much more valuable than money. If not, if you don't act that way, you are just saying it with your mouth and then you act the other way, you are not consistent. Your words and your mind and your actions are not consistent, and you'll be a double-minded person, and you're not going to be able to make a lot of things out of life. So, and in terms of love and affection, you understand that when you love people, then the affection will come. So when you see someone and say, I don't like this person, I don't know why. There's just something about this person. I don't just like him. It's because you've not loved the person. And if you're a child of God, we are commanded to love everyone. So if you understand that the commandment to love is much more important than whatever affection you are feeling, you would begin to invest more in loving the person, loving in terms of making sure that you seek their welfare, loving in terms of making sure that you do things that will help them get better. And when you begin to invest more in people's lives, when you begin to give them things, begin to spend time with them, affection will definitely come after love. It will come because you are spending a lot of your time with this person. Even if the person did not look beautiful to you, handsome to you at the initial stage, you discover that when you just spend more time with them, give them more attention, give them more care, eventually affection is going to follow. And that's how it works. So if maybe in your marriage, you are saying, oh, I don't know why I don't love this person and all of that. It's because the love you are talking about is affection, not love, because love is actually an action. So when you begin to put love into actions, caring for them, spending time with them, praying for them, all of those things, eventually the affection builds up, and then you're able to get that. So love, focus on love instead of affection. Let love be more important. Love is an action word. Let the actions of love be more important, be more, rank it higher than affection, and then you begin to see things work out better for you. Then in terms of skill and knowledge, always have it at the back of your mind. And until something becomes a skill, I do not know it. So don't ever think that, oh, I'll read the book and you just read it once and you are done. No. Once you understand that skill is very important and skill supersedes knowledge. Skill, the relationship between skill is that and knowledge is that skill is on the higher level. So whenever you are reading a book, whenever you are attending a seminar, all what you are thinking is, how can I ensure that I apply this? Because skill is applied knowledge. How do I ensure that I apply this? Because no matter how many I read, how many books I read, no matter for how long I read, until I'm able to apply the things that I'm learning, I have not gained a skill and I have wasted whatever I have learned. So when you attend the boot camp like this, you're not saying, oh, I have heard what that man said, oh, it's very interesting. I heard what that lady said, it's very interesting, I'm blessed, and all of that. And you do not do anything. You cannot write something, or you cannot take an action based on what we have discussed. Then it means that you prefer knowledge more than skill, because you cannot spend all of this your time and say that you want to waste it. No, you really want to get the best out of your time. That's why you are here. That's why you're in Bootcamp. That's why you're watching this video. But then, are you really putting skillfulness, application of the knowledge that you have? Are you really putting it ahead? Are you really scaling it higher in terms of importance than your knowledge? Your actions will show whether you really do. I want to challenge everyone here. Be the kind of person that seeks to have better perspective about the things around you. Honestly, if you can learn to change your perspective about things around you, about time, about money, about people. Some people say, I'm not a people person. Oh, you are joking. Because the perspective about people and connection and relationship is that God said at the beginning that it is not good that the man should be alone. He was not talking just about marriage. If you are a kind of person that feel that you don't like people to be around, you just want to be alone, you're only setting up yourself for a life that is not very beautiful. The more people surround you, the more the people that surround you, the more the people you have in your life, the more the quality people you have in your life, the better the quality of even your own life. So you cannot say, "Oh, I'm not a people person, I'm not that kind of person." Some people say, "I'm not that outgoing person." Well, you might not be, but once you understand that relationships are much more important than any other thing, than whatever you want to think you want to do, then you are focused on how do I build better relationships? How do I ensure that I have better relationships with other people? So it's important. Look at your life currently. What's your perspective about money? What's your perspective about love or affection? What's your perspective about work, the work that you do? What's your perspective about the things that you come in contact with on a daily basis? What's your perspective about wealth? When people that are wealthy, when people riding cars, you think those are the people that are wealthy? And then somebody else that is not riding car but has a lot of value to offer to the world, but because you cannot see the money, you begin to say, "Oh, hey, foolish man's wisdom is not even reasonable," and all of that. Until you change your perspective about things, you'll not be able to get the best out of life. So it's very important that you change your perspective about things and look at your life. Make sure that everything that is around you in your life, that you have a better perspective about them, a better perspective about those things. And so we've talked about perspective. We've talked about what it looks like when you have a perspective and when you want to have a better perspective about it. But practically, as I begin near the end of my rounding up, how exactly can we change your perspective? So I want to believe that if you've been following, you really are now desiring to change your perspective. You really are now thinking about how do I really change my perspective? Like, this is true. I've been seeing things from the wrong perspective. I've been seeing money from the wrong perspective. I've been seeing love from the wrong perspective. I've been seeing time from the wrong perspective. I've been seeing skill and knowledge from the wrong perspective. How do I really have the right perspective? I desire to make it as simple as possible for us. And that's why I'm going to say, if you're going to change your perspective, there are two things. In fact, there's just one thing that you need to do, but that one thing is in two faces, has two sides. Just one thing that you need to do. That one thing you need to do is change your environment. If you are following me, you heard me. Change your environment. If you want to change your perspective, just change your environment. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. Change your environment. Once you change your environment, your perspective changes. I'm going to give you an illustration just for you to have a little view of what I'm saying. Then I'm going to now go and explain. Imagine that you are the crest of a mountain. That's the lower part of the mountain, or at the base of a mountain. And you are looking at life. You want to look at a wide area. How far do you think you will be able to see when you're at the base of the mountain? How far? Ask yourself. Imagine you're at the base of the mountain. Or maybe you've never even seen a mountain before. You don't even know what it looks like to be on top of the mountain. Okay. So let's say you are at the bottom of a three-story building. Many of us should have had encounters with that. So you're at the bottom of a three-story building. I want to see the environment around you. You want to see all other houses. You want to see other buildings. How much do you think you will see compared to when you are at the last floor of that building and you're looking out from the window? How much do you think you'll be able to see? So just changing your environment, just changing your position, just changing from the ground floor, just changing where you are standing from helps you to see things from a different perspective. When you're on the last floor of that three-story building, you're going to be able to see more houses, more people, more things, more trees, all of that, than when you're at the base of that building. That's the way it is. Just changing your environment alone can help you begin to see things in different perspectives. But like I said, I'm going to help us really understand it better. I said it's one thing that has two faces. I said change your environment. Change your environment. Your environment is made up of your internal and your external environment. When you change your external environment, that's the example I just made in terms of when you're at the base of when you're at the ground floor and when you are on the last floor of a three-story building. That's your external environment. That's an example of changing your external environment. Even though it can help you understand, environment generally. But this is it. When you change your external environment, it changes what you see. You're able to see more. You're able to see things from different perspectives. When you are down, when you are on the ground floor, you're able to see human beings, just one on one in their very big picture. Or when you go up, you're going to see that human being that you saw very big. You're going to see that human being in a smaller way. You're going to now see many more human beings because of where you are. You can see more places. You can see more things. So it changes what you see. But when you change your mind, which is your internal environment, it changes how you see that thing. That's what really happens when you change your environment, when you change your internal environment, how you see that thing. So I'm going to give some examples. Like I said, let's say you are at the base of a mountain or you're at the mountain top. When you are there at the base of the mountain, you are going to see a narrow view. You are going to see just a shorter view. You are only going to see a few places. When you're at the mountain top, you are going to see vast, a wider range of things. You're going to see many, many, many more places, farther places when you're at the top of the mountain than you will see when you're at the bottom. But what you see and how it affects you or how you perceive that thing that you're seeing is also going to be a function of your mind. So for instance, let me give an example. If by the time you are going to the top of the mountain, you are dejected, you're not happy, and then you get to the top of the mountain, it's likely that what you'll be seeing is, oh, this place is far. Especially for, let's say the person is depressed. Let me just use that example. Somebody is depressed and they go to the top of the mountain. What they'll be saying is, my life is not even meaningful. Can I just jump down and just forget about my life? That's what the person is likely going to, that's how the person is likely going to be seeing their position on top of the mountain. But for somebody that is happy, that is excited about life, that maybe had, a very wonderful time with God in the morning, and they're saying, oh Lord, my God, how great you are, and they're like, this when I behold the nature, when I behold the things that you have created, it makes me wonder about you. That kind of person, when you get to the mountaintop, what they see and how they see will be different entirely, because they will begin to say, oh wow, look at nature. And you're telling me nobody created, anybody that said there is no God is a fool. Look at how we created all of this. Look at how beautiful nature is, because their mind is different from the person that is depressed. So when you change your internal environment, it helps you change how you see things. Changing your environment, external, your position only helps you see things, in a different way. But I mean, it changes what you see. But how you see is dependent on the state of your mind. Another example to just buttress that is, let's assume you change your location. Let's say for somebody that travels from one country to the other, and maybe you're traveling from a third world country to a country where there is more wealth, there is more development. What you likely see, if you are just talking about changing of environment, just the external environment, we are going to be seeing is new people, new languages, new aesthetics, new culture. That's what you are going to be seeing. But depending on the state of your mind, when you get to a new environment, you will either be seeing new opportunities or new challenges. For the people that their minds are so charged, every challenge they are seeing, they will say, oh, this opportunity, this is the problem I can solve. That's what they'll be seeing, just because they change their environment. But for somebody that just said, okay, I just want to leave this Nigeria, the problem is too much. When they get to that place, because they are problem oriented, they're only going to be seeing problem. Oh, these people are racist. These people are this something. That's what they'll be seeing. Why? Because their internal environment, that's the state of the internal environment. Let me just say that. That's the state of the internal environment. But somebody that has a different internal environment is thinking, there's, even when they are actually being denied of some things, instead of these people are racist, they will not be saying that way. They'll say, these people are challenging me. They're telling me that I cannot just come to their country and just get things easy, because life is not just easy. I have to make sure that I'm better. I have to make sure that I do this. I have to make sure that I'm doing, and they are working on themselves, and they are looking for opportunities. That's what they will be thinking about, because their minds are different, right? So another example I'm going to give is when people change their jobs. If you just change your job or career, change from being a business person to going to 9 to 5, or from 9 to 5 to business, or you change from financial career to tech or whatever it is, you change your career. What you are going to be seeing on the external, what you see is new activities, new people, new policies. That's what you're going to be seeing. But So that's because of the change of your external environment. But based on your internal environment, how you see those things will be different. How you see that change is going to be different. You're going to be seeing it as an opportunity to learn new skills, learn new things. You're also going to be seeing that change of your job. You're going to be seeing that new environment as an opportunity to discover yourself. You're not going to say, oh, when I was in 9 to 5, maybe I knew that money will come. What's this problem? You're going to say, oh, there's a part of me that I've not discovered. I don't know how to sell. I don't know how to market. I don't know how to do this. It's different. Perspectives are changing. You are thinking that, oh, how do I discover myself better? How can I make sure that this thing helps me more? Some people just lose their jobs and that's the end of their lives. Some people just take their lives and say, oh, this world is meant to me. Then some other persons will lose their job and say, I have to make it in life. And then they'll go out and some other persons will retire and they say, oh, I have to just go and rest and maybe die in good old age and all of that. Look for somebody that will take care of me. And then some other persons, like the founder of KFC, will retire and say, I don't want to spend the rest of my life just depending on other people. And then they will create a business after retirement that will now eventually become a global business. Why? Internal environment. Internal environment. So how do you change your external environment? That one is simple. You can easily do that. We said the example. So you can just decide, I'm going to leave the ground level, the first floor, I'm going to the third floor, and then you've gotten there already. Changing your external environment is quite simple. For location example, if you want to change your environment, just need some money, just need to apply for scholarships or whatever it is, you change your location and you go to another country, right? For career, can you say, I'm just tired of this work, I want to go and do something else, get a job in another company, apply. I mean, it's quite easy. And I don't need to begin to go into all of that. Anyway, I'm not even an expert in all of those things. So it's quite easy for you to change your external environment. You can just change. You can say, I'm no longer living in this area. This area, they are too poor in this place. They are too myopic. I'm going to. It's very easy. You can just do that. You can just get your money, pack your things. I mean, it's easy, quite easy to do that. But the internal environment is the one that requires much more seriousness, requires much more skillfulness, requires much more intentionality, because it is a major determinant to how your life is going to turn out. So in terms of changing your internal environment, how do you change your internal environment? By studying, by learning. And now, like I said, you understand that the learning is not just about knowing something in your head. When you are studying, you're not just studying to learn by putting things in your head. You are studying to learn by actually doing the thing. That's how you learn. That's when you can say you have really learned this thing because I put it into action. I know how. So your study is not for know what, it is for know-how. So you have that perspective about knowledge. And the more you begin to study, like I said the other time, words, the more words you have in your vocabulary, the more you begin to study, read books, meet people, the more the better you begin to see life, the better the perspective you begin to have about life. So one of the ways is through studying. Another way is through meeting with new people, connecting with people. When you meet with people, sometimes the kind of people you just meet, and when they are talking, it just makes you begin to think that, wait, am I really serious with my life? And then that's where things start from. And then sometimes it's just that you get into an environment and the things that you already have as value in you just open your mouth and you talk, and people are like, oh wow, you are so brilliant, you are so intelligent, where have you been all my life? Should have been giving me all of this value. And you're like, what? Like, I'm in an environment where people don't just see anything valuable in what I say. So that change of environment alone, meeting the right set of people. So it's not just physical environment, but meeting the right set of people has helped you begin, develop a new awareness, perspective about even your own self. This has happened to several people ever, time and time again. So if you want to really, really change your life and your own internal environment, you also have to be careful about the kind of things that you hear, the things you listen to, the sermons you listen to, the conferences you attend, the people you mix with, and the words that they say to you. Your words are the windows. It's not just your ears. Of course, your ears are like the physical instrument that helps you bring in the word or close out the word, just like we talk about windows. But your ears are the physical instrument. The words themselves are the spiritual, so to say, instruments that things used to get into your life or out of your life. If you want something to get out into your life, allow those words to begin to come out. If you want to begin to see some things in your life, begin to speak it out and begin to say, I am this person. I am brilliant. I am wonderful. I am good. When somebody greets you, I'm just there. Somebody begins to say, I'm fantastic, even though you don't feel like it. You need to tell yourself, I'm doing great today, I'm fantastic. Those words, then positive affirmations. Those things are not just ritual, they're not just for motivational speakers. No, they are real. When you understand that this is how words are, words, the things that you speak, they are the ones that begin to shape your view about life. They are the ones that begin to tell you this is what I'm supposed to be like. So you change your words, you change your affirmations, and then last but not the least, you pray. You pray. There are some situations that you cannot change. There are some parts of your internal environment that you cannot change except you have an encounter with God, except you meet God, except you are saved, except you are reconciled to your Maker. And there are some things that even after you have reconciled with your Maker, you're a child of God, until you go and ask for the mercy of God and ask Him to really change some things about you, it will be very difficult for you to have that change. You might read books, you might do a lot of things, but except God really intervenes in some situation in your life, you will not be able to make that transformation. So the Word of God, studying the Word of God, reading the Word of God, reading books, books on finance, books on health, books on marriage, relationship, books on those areas that you want to change, to have your perspective change about, is very important. Study, read, learn, learn by doing, not just by watching, not just by hearing. Learn by doing, and then practice positive affirmation. Speak the word. Speak the kind of life you want to live into existence, and then learn to pray. Of course, there could be so many other ways, but by the grace of God, these are the few ways that I have been privileged to share with you about how to change your perspective. And I trust God that everything that we have learned, the Holy Spirit will interpret it into your heart, will give you understanding, will help you to really take this thing seriously, so that you can change your perspective and you can create possibilities based on the assignment that God has for you, based on the vision of God for your life, and things will begin to change for your life for good in your life for good in the name of Jesus. I want to really appreciate everyone. I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for listening to me. I would like to know if you have questions so that I can quickly take the questions before we wrap up for tonight. But if there are no questions, then we'll have to say good night. And please, I want to encourage you tomorrow, by the grace of God, tomorrow, our guest speaker is going to be coming. I want us to make sure that we come on time so that we can have a good time together. I want us to also make sure that we invite our friends. If you really have gained some value tonight, I want you to invite your friends. I want you to tell people about this event. I want you to bring people tomorrow by the grace of God. So if you have questions, can you please share? You can use the chat, or maybe you can just unmute your mic very briefly. If you have questions to ask based on what we have said today, based on changing perspectives, based on how we can change our perspective, any question, I'll be waiting for the next 30 seconds. And after that, we will just call it a night. Please let's not forget, let's invite people tomorrow. Let's invite people tomorrow. All right, so and if you even have questions and for want of time, we cannot take them now, and because I can't see you bringing those questions early, please, you can write them down, you can join them so that tomorrow we take all the questions together, and then we can have a beautiful time together. I want to really thank you once again for this privilege to speak to you, and for us to spend this time together. I want us to pray together. I want to pray that the Lord will help us, that all that we have listened to will help us to apply to our lives. And I pray that your time that you have spent to be on this in this productivity bootcamp, and to be watching the video and the replay for those that will be watching, that it will not be a wasted time, but that God will help you, inspire you to have a change of perspective, a change of life. Will help you to give your best to ensure that you can have a change of life in the name of Jesus. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Inka. Thank you for that response. Yes, I'm glad you got value. And please, I want to encourage you, bring other people tomorrow. Let's not enjoy it alone. And you can also share the link. This program is already live streamed to YouTube, so you can go to my YouTube channel, and share it so that other people can benefit from it. Thank you very much. It's been a wonderful time. I'll see you tomorrow by the grace of God. 7 p.m. is the time. Don't miss it. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful night.